Alright, let's get started. So hi, I'm Irisjoker, and this is going to be commentary. I'm doing commentary for me and Slurpeeninja's co-op run. This was a 128 30 run. We did this offline while we were at AGDQ 2017, I believe it was, yeah. So, let's get started. Depending on what comes up during the run, I may or may not pause the run. Pause or rewind the run to show specific things that I may or may not want to point out, but we'll see. So, when you start co-op, you actually start as single player. Player 1 has to switch the mode from single to double after the first tutorial ops and the first chapter loads. So now it's set to co-op. There was some setup, at least, with how we decided who was player 1 and who was player 2. Player 1 has the tool wheel on the left-hand side, or I should say on the bottom left, while player 2 has it on the bottom right. And what's weird, what's also fitting is that I play with the nunchuck in my left hand, whereas Slurpee plays with his nunchuck in the right hand, so it kind of works out for both of us. So you may not be able to tell during most of the operation because of how quickly we go, but I'm the yellow dot, Irisjoker, and Slurpee's the purple dot. For the most part, we tried to split up most of the actions we did, whereas I would handle most of the wounds on the left-hand side of the screen, and Slurpee would handle the right-hand side. So kind of try to imagine an invisible line dividing screen in half vertically, and that's sort of how we generalized which areas we would work on during the run. I should also mention that for skipping and cutscenes, I was handling most of that. It's better to just plan out in advance, who's going to be doing all the menuing, and the skipping, and all of the minor things that will happen out of the operation. Same with pausing and doing episode select and all that. So 1-2 is kind of interesting, at least for co-op. There's a weird glitch where if player 1 and player 2 more or less keep the dots in the up, it's easier to show once it actually starts up. So first we'll clear up all these minor wounds, extract this tumor, and then there will be 3 tumors arranged on a diagonal line. I guess we didn't do it this time, but there's an interesting glitch where I'll rewind it a little bit. If both players activate their scalpel at the same time, it'll reveal all 3 tumors right here. So yeah, I think I was a bit off with where my scalpel was, but if I'd done it right, all 3 would have shown up at the same time and would have saved us a little bit of time having to reveal all of them. Oh, yes, I forgot to mention, this video may seem a little dim. That's not because of, your screen or anything on my end. It's just that when we recorded this, my capture card wasn't powered. I was using it as a pass-through, so the video quality gets a little dimmed out. Or, you know, it's a little dimmer than usual. So I was just recording using capture card on the laptop instead of my setup at home. Alright, the pancreas implant. This is really cool on co-op compared to solo. So as usual, we're gonna more or less split up the chips that we burn off, but now instead of just having to focus on the blood pools that are around here, Slurpee can drain the pools here and I can drain the pools here. We finish about 7 seconds faster than on solo. This would also make any percent hard that much easier because one person could continue draining while the other boosts the vitals. Oh, sorry about that. I'm the Irisjoker. I am the yellow dot, and Slurpeeninja is the purple dot. When I upload this, I'll be sure to include in the notes that Irisjoker is the yellow dot and Slurpee's the purple dot. I'll also update the stream title to show that. This is the first stop where there's a decent amount for both player 1 and player 2 to do. Which, ironically in co-op, you'd think that fewer mistakes would happen, but actually, it can happen more often than you think, because if two of you try to do the same thing, like if both of us try to extract the same tumor, it could end up dropping, or it could cause a mistake, which will lower the patient's vitals, obviously. So that will definitely matter a lot more in the late game around Chapter 6 and Chapter 7. Same with Pacemaker. So normally during this stop, you have to boost the patient's vitals twice. Well, I should not say normally, you always have to. So what I was able to do was, I was able to boost the vitals while Slurpee kept suturing, so that saves a little bit of time there. And then from here on out, it's just the usual co-op strats with extra suturing while boosting. Well, wait, I guess we didn't have to boost vitals since they were in stasis. Oh yeah, so for Doctor Select, it's somewhat matters for the only difference between Valerie and Marcus are their healing touches. So for this run, we more or less but we decided that Slurpee would be the primary one to handle healing touches if we only use one doctor. So as you can see, Slurpee had a little bit of trouble activating the healing touch. And then we eventually decided to just move on, I think. Normally, yeah, eventually he got it. But normally you use Marcus's healing touch to reduce the amount of inflammations that come up. But because it took us a while, we had a few extras to deal with. I think in retrospect we should have just focused on draining immediately, since we had 2 drains instead of 1. Ah, the Pacemaker. Okay, so with Pacemaker, this is usually a very tight operation in the during a solo run, since you're trying to more or less avoid any random fibrillations. And to do that, you need to more or less deactivate the pacemaker, disconnect it, put in the new pacemaker, attach the cords, and then reattach the cords to the heart before the game rolls for, and more or less, at least with my luck, will flatline the patient. So in co-op, whenever you do heart massaging or any type of defibrillator usage, it switches in between player 1 and player 2. And now we can begin operating. Now it's rolling for the defib, or for the flatline. Unfortunately, we connected both cords before it happened, so it moved from the random one and just did the scripted one, which happens after you connect these two cords. Also, to save a little bit of time, it's like maybe like a half second, but still, across like 40 operations, it saves about it saves 20 seconds, I guess. Anytime we make an incision, Slurpee will disinfect, and then I'll follow up with the scalpel. It just basically saves a tool switch that you'd normally go through in a solo run. Same thing with the heart massaging in Pacemaker. Defib usage is swapped. However, if player 1 manages to do a perfect defib, which is when the meter lands in the in the green area, then player 2 doesn't have to use the defib. Just like that. So now Slurpee will activate the healing touch. We activate the healing touch there, by the way, just because once you start draining all of those blood pools, it will hurt the patient a lot, and Val's healing touch prevents that. I didn't mention it already, we also have separate tools, which also have their own separate cooldown. So, for example, when you use the laser for too long, it'll eventually just burn out, and it'll go on cooldown for about 5 seconds, and you can't use it until it comes back up again. So, for Stigma like Share or Cardia, towards the very end of the game, Slurpee and I may or may not take turns, depending on how we want to use the laser. So now once Share fuses, we can more or less just continuously use the laser. versus solo, where you have to kind of more or less watch your laser usage. I would say overall this probably saves about 10 to 15 seconds versus solo. It's very useful during Chapter 6 when you're dealing with 2 strains of Stigma at once. So one player can go after can go after Cher while the other does Soma. And that's another thing. Like, communication will become much more important during chapters 6 and 7, since there will be more and more things to contend with, and you'll need to divvy up who deals with what strain of Stigma, as well as like who does what and when. But we practiced a few ops quite a bit. The skin graft operation was probably the one we practiced the most because there's like a myriad of ways to approach that operation, which is actually the one that just came up. I didn't even realize that. So yeah, I think we spent a lot of time practicing 2-5 and 6-5 because with skin grafting, you can use Marcus's healing touch, you can use Valerie's healing touch, you can prep skin grafts first and then deal with the blood pools, or you can deal with the blood pools first and then deal with the skin grafts. So we activate Val's healing touch to reduce the amount of vital loss from cutting up the skin grafts. And now that Valerie's healing touch is worn off, I'll activate Marcus's to reduce the amount of blood pools that form. And as we're using skin grafts, we're also creating more. More or less just trying to optimize how many skin grafts we'll have available at a time. So the optimal way to handle the gallbladder operation is to more or less activate the healing touch as soon as the solution to inject into the gallbladder becomes available, which prevents any because once you activate the healing touch after you incinerate the first gallstone, it will slow down the spawning of any additional gallstones, and if you complete the gallbladder extraction quickly enough, then the op should just, I wouldn't say it automatically ends, but you'll just move on faster, since you won't have any additional gallstones to burn up. So I switched to Val so I can give Slurpee the Marcus's healing touch. So Slurpee buffers the healing touch while I incinerate the first one, and immediately activates it after I deal with it. Yeah, sometimes the episode select with menuing can get a little messed up because Slurpee would sometimes have his cursor over config or episode select when I needed to select it.
術式
3-3 is always really nerve-wracking, even with the healing touch-up, because you can still mess up. If you mess up placing the memory patch, then the patient immediately flatlines and you have to use the defib. So me and Slurpee, when we started doing Soma, we were hoping that having 2 drains would actually make this side-scroller of an operation go faster, but it doesn't. The only optimization that really that co-op has over solo is when the core of Soma gets revealed, one player can just focus on lasering Soma while the other drains the 3 blue tumors that Soma releases. Same with the lasering. The lasering's about the same. Also, one player can focus on lasering the orange tumor or orange or red tumors that. Oh right, I forgot that Soma splits into 2. Soma splits its core into 2 after a while, so that's another optimization that co-op has over solo. I forgot to switch to hard for this operation. Normally on, well, I should say across any difficulty, the aneurysm operations are the fastest to do on hard because actually no, we may have done it on normal intentionally because we have 2 syringes to reduce the swelling on the aneurysms. So I don't think we really want them to burst faster, or rather, it's not as useful.
やりましょう。
I think this is another op we probably could have spent a little bit more time trying to see if it was faster on normal or hard. Because on hard, the aneurysms require a little bit more of the sedative to reduce the swelling. Also, camera positioning is very important for this, because both of us could just barely see each other's aneurysms when they were split up top like that. Slurpee had some trouble activating Marcus's healing touch again. You use Marcus's healing touch for this to, of course, reduce the amount of time it takes the aneurysm to burst, and in turn it reduces the amount for the stabilizer you need to inject into each aneurysm. But it may not be necessary to use it. Again, that's one of those. Should you do we use the healing touch to make this easier, or just do it at normal speed and try to get it done as quickly as possible, or switch to hard and just let the aneurysms burst as quickly as possible and deal with the aftermath.
「まずは
Sometimes that'll happen. Now the second patient, although it's an appendix extraction, he's still in a pretty bad state. And we use the healing touch here to reduce the amount of pus that comes out. Well, not only to reduce the amount of pus that forms, but also to reduce however many additional inflammations that the pus will make. For anyone attempting, or who wants to attempt a co-op run, using Valerie for the appendix operation, or the appendix extraction is also viable, in case, make a lot of mistakes injecting the stabilizer. Having the vitals in stasis will more or less give you free reign, or, you don't have to worry about as much as, being accurate with this syringe.
緊急
That blood pool prevented us from closing the laceration. So sometimes going too fast isn't good. Okay, so this is Miracle Surgery, where everything goes wrong. But fortunately, we have two sets of tools instead of one this time. I don't remember what we did with this. Obviously, the advantage is having extra stabilizer to keep the vitals up, as well as the drain, so we can drain more blood pools before the well, there are multiple fibrillations, but the one where the drain actually, the fibrillation before the drain becomes unusable. It was a little messy because we didn't work out who would deal with each tumor, but it's okay. So I should pause for a bit. On solo and co-op, even though you can treat these areas, you want to reveal like there's still 5 tumors here that have to be dealt with. Well, I should say 5 tumors will spawn after you extract these 3 tumors. So, as soon as you drain any one of those 5, or at least attempt to drain it, the drain will just go offline, and you can't deal with these tumors anymore. You don't want to really, because that's where, you know, because Slurpee thought we were gonna treat these tumors and then move on with the 5, but that kind of, you're going to be placing those patches on later on anyway, so you don't need to do that immediately. It's more important to just go through the scripted event where the drain goes offline. You just want to get through this sequence as quickly as possible and proc it as early as possible. Since we can't really use the drain, we just have to keep boosting the vitals until it comes back online. And then after our syringe runs out, you can use the gel to stop the vital drop. And now both of us can drain and extract the tumors and clean up any blood pools that have occurred before this massage takes place. And then after this, we'll activate Valerie's Sealing Touch and clean up. Even on co-op, you can always miss a small inflammation or two. I shouldn't have moved the camera so quickly there, because Slurpee couldn't see where to drop that little triangular valve thing. But that was still okay. Could have been a little bit better, but still. Would have been interesting to have seen how both of those aneurysm operations would have played out on hard. Now, ops on co-op is substantially less stressful than it is on solo, since you don't really have like that 3-second window where you're not really able to prevent the patient from instantly dying as you're trying to draw a star. One player can draw the star while the other tries to prevent those Pong tumors from hitting the eyes of ops. So like with Cher, we'll take turns using the laser. We also worked out who would start first, so that way, once this part happens, both of us have a reasonable amount of laser up. Torn ligaments is about the same deal as it is on solo. Although I think, I don't remember who, well, I guess we'll find out in a bit, but I think what we did was Slurpee activates Healing Touch while I just purely focus on connecting all of the detached nerves. Yeah, so Slurpee will extract a little bit of wood that's embedded in the arm, and I'll reattach the torn ligaments. Wow, that was even slower than solo.
6ヶ月は見といた方がいいわね。
では。
These two operations are pretty simple and self-explanatory. Split up who deals with the cuts on the left hand and the right hand side, and then both players will drain and place on any membrane patches that need to be put on.
ここで寝ろっていうのね。もう
So I was more or less comparing my splits for Onyx 1 and 2 on hard and normal, and they're almost about the same, so I wonder if hard might actually be faster due to the animation of Onyx, but that's something I'll test later on. Chapter 5 is a little bit is kind of boring since there's really not much difference between solo and co-op. Onyx is fairly the same. It's pretty much the same because you're still searching, revealing, and then syringing. Searching, using the syringe. Yeah, we switched to hard for this one because after that first one, thought, well, the animation's kind of slow, let's see if it's faster on hard. Also, first, to slightly optimize this, Slurpee would just be the one responsible for injecting the syringe, so it would save us a tool switch for when Onyx was revealed. I almost forgot to switch back to normal. Okay, chapter 6. I guess Now I can more or less resume talking. Anyway, Brachion's obviously much easier since now we have two players with that can pinch and extract each of the heads of the arms versus one player where you have to more or less work out where the dots are going to end up. You know, the lights that Brachion sends out towards the ends of its arms.
So,
The other cool thing is if one player finishes extracting their arms before the other, it can just help with extracting the arm, or the head, I should say, the head of the arm. I feel like we probably should have. Well, I think we did practice 6-2 quite a bit because of we needed to figure out which tumors we'd split up between me and Slurpee. Whereas on solo, you would just work from left to right with the upper left hand, or the tumor in the upper left hand corner, then slowly working your way around clockwise.
よし。
Alright, so this is now the first multi-patient stigma operation. There are two multi-patient stigma ops. This first one, however, only has one strain of stigma per patient, and the second one has two strains of stigma per patient, except for the first one. Except for the first patient that has Brachion. But that's in Chapter 7. This can be a little nerve-wracking on normal because the last patient you deal with has ops, and if you get some bad luck, like if a random tumor runs into the one of the eyes after it splits up, and you're trying to draw a star, the patient might die instantly, and you'll lose like 3 to 4 minutes of time. So now Soma will split up, and we'll deal with whatever tumors it happens to just leave behind as it's slugging around. We're trying to work out kind of like a strategy with Soma. It's like whoever's draining the false ore will deal with any of the orange tumors that the real Soma leaves behind. That way, whoever's draining the real one can just focus on that and reveal the core as quickly as possible. But that didn't always work out. Because you have different things that you're trying to prioritize and remember with co-op versus normal. Alright, doggo. This is still annoying to do with co-op, because I don't think that we can still operate quickly enough to outpace the random flatlines that will occur during this op. There are a minimum of 2 scripted flatlines that will happen. The first is obviously when you begin the operation, and the other is when you finish treating all of the wounds that the dog has. So, I kind of messed this up a little bit since we were waiting to see if we would get the flatline, but we didn't. Okay, so basically, or compared to Solo might get 2 rolls, whereas co-op only gets 1, provided the 2 of you are operating quickly enough. Six 5 and 6-6 are probably the highlights of where co-op really shines. It's just substantially less strain on each of the players since you can divvy up tasks much more easily, and you don't have one player trying to keep all of these patients alive.
一人も
And of course have the added benefit of having 2 healing touches. So for this op, you normally don't have a healing touch, but since this is co-op, we have Marcus's. We're still saving Valerie's for the last patient, but with this one, we can use it to reduce the amount of time the blood pools have to reform. I should have left those burned areas alone and just focused on dealing with the blood pools down here. See, that blood pool may not have come up again if we had dealt with it while the healing touch was up. Same with that other one turning into a burned area. Even with these minor mistakes, this is still like 40 seconds faster than solo. Me and Slurpee kind of swapped sides there, as during practice I was having a little bit of trouble with the rifle casing. However, Slurpee also noted that he thought it would be better if I dealt with the shotgun pellets, because the hitboxes for those are much smaller than the rifle round, and he thought he also would have an easier time with the rifle casing instead of the shotgun pellets. So normally you would ignore the glass shards in a solo run, but to more or less optimize the amount of health we had for this part, I kept boosting the vitals while Slurpee dealt with the glass shards, save a little bit of time. Ooh, that was a bad mistake. Have to be really careful about making mistakes with the with lacerations in their open, because they can deal, as you just saw, a lot of damage to the patient. You may have also noticed I didn't wait for Slurpee to activate the healing touch, because I more or less trusted him to get it activated at some point. But if I had noticed that like the vitals were dropping to like 10 or something, then I would have just swapped to boosting vitals until he got it up. But again, that's co-op, just trusting your partner to do what both of you expect going to happen. Ugh. See what's next. Transplants. Okay. The first patient, it's even on solo. The first patient's relatively easy, or manageable, I should say. The second patient is where having 2 doctors again really comes into play, since one player can deal with share and the other can deal with Onyx.
分かった。
To be honest, we didn't really have to conserve our lasers here, but we really didn't want to. Okay, so now we're more or less just going full on laser. Since after this, it's just the share fusing. So now Slurpee can focus on dealing with the transplant while I laser share. And once my laser runs out, I can switch. Unfortunately, Air likes to kind of move off screen when using the laser too much. Now, both of us are getting really worried here because of what happened with Cher there. Cher won't do that attack unless it's on the main organ. So while it's swinging around over here, it won't do anything. That's why it's trying to swim back up around here where it can do its stupid attack. But since Valerie's healing touches up, again, this doesn't matter. For whatever reason, I just forgot how to suture at that when I was doing that cut up there. Still pretty good. 725 on the in-game timer. And we didn't use Marcus's healing touch either.
二人に意識が戻ったらいろいろ
So despite the two attacks that the fused share got in, I'd say we still did that fairly well. But for these tumors, you have to extract, or more or less, use the scalpel on those 3 little arms before you can take them out. I give Slurpee the light because I have a good idea of where that tumor is, and he needs to actually see where these 2 are. And then I quickly steal the light for a bit so I can see where the tumors are. That was about 20 to 30 seconds faster than a solo attempt with this probably would go. Ugh. Right, so 7-2 is where we have yet another multi-patient operation. Again, all stigma, but patients 2 and 3 will have 2 strains. So much like with the transplant operation, I'll deal with one strain and Slurpee will deal with another. Now that Slurpee's done with Soma, we can just switch lasers between using between share. The most difficult part about this op is the camera between Onyx and Cher. We put Soma on hold for a little bit, just so we can make sure we could move the camera around and deal with Onyx. And then business as usual when it comes to dealing with Soma.
敗は
I'm somewhat puzzled as to why I gave Slurpee Valerie, and we use Valerie's Healing Touch, because normally you'd use Marcus's to slow down all the weird stuff that happens during this op, but didn't really matter. This off's more or less the same with on co-op compared to normal. However, since we each have our own syringes with their own cooldowns, it's not as strenuous as it is on solo. Also, normally, right now I remember, we actually failed this op, and unfortunately, we didn't activate the Healing Touch in time, and I kept stabbing the patient without using the neutralizer. So that was a really embarrassing mistake there. But I think on this attempt we get it right. That was a really good incision. Did it in 0.07 seconds there. Yeah, me and Slurpee were both at fault there. I was trying to operate too fast and he didn't activate Val's Healing Touch in time. This time, however, we were much more calm, and I don't think we even used Val's Healing Touch for this. Yeah, on co-op you don't really need to use it as long as both players remain calm and wait for the neutralizer to actually be active. I think we lost about a minute here due to our first death. We also lucked out with the defib or with the EKG there because it was preparing to roll for whether or not it was going to flatline, and it didn't give us a flatline, so that was nice. Lastly, Cardia. This first phase is going really well. We're doing a great job at divvying up who cuts what and where. That mistake's okay, because it forced Cardia to go away. Now we just boost vitals up to 99 until this phase starts. Now, while Cardia's... so I'm going to slow this down for a bit. Oops. This part, when Cardia does that, you can still laser him, but while he's dropping each of these tumors, you can't laser him. So you have to be careful about that. To not waste your laser when he's pulling each of those tumors. You can still laser him while he's making all of these cuts, though. I think I used the healing touch too soon here, though, but it doesn't really matter since both of us have our lasers. And that was about... I think that was about 30 to 40 seconds faster as usually than solo, because I think I usually finish with about 8 minutes on the clock, or 7:50, even with healing touch, affecting the internal timer. So yeah, that's it for the co-op run. I'll let the credits play out and wait until it goes back to the menu to show the in-game time. Yeah, sorry this took me forever to get around to doing the commentary for. I'm not the best at talking for an hour and a half about this game, even though I've played it for who knows how long now. Yeah, thanks to Slurpeeninja and for playing this with me. This is a really fun run to do. Definitely took us a lot of offline practice separately to learn the run, and then once we met up at GDQ, we did plenty of we did a few runs as well as practicing specific ops like 2-5, I believe we practiced. Yeah, we did 2-5, a lot of 6-5, 6-6. A little bit of Brachion. And 1-2 is interesting because of the glitch I mentioned towards the beginning of the run with the 2 scalpels revealing all 3 tumors at once. Alright, so that's scene game time of 1:31:08. Alright, well, thanks for watching everyone.